Hey, Milan, what's up?
Oh, hey, and
Are you okay?
oh, hey, I'm fine. Just, I was sure that the world was gonna end today, and I was all prepared and everything, and the Mayans let me down.
I, do you need any help? You want me to do anything? Do you want to take a break from the video this week?
No, no, that's fine. So, what are we talking about again?
We're talking about the history of video games and stuff.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Uh,
Yeah, just like the history of consoles, stuff like that. Not, yeah.
yeah, yeah, it sounds great. Sounds great. So, do you know how much arsenic a human body has to consume before it becomes lethal?
No. Why?
Oh, no reason.
Gentlemen, it's time once again to discuss things.
Yeah.
Okay, hello everyone. This is Esplin227, and damn it, I should have said this is Geeky Gentleman.
It's okay. Keep
Okay, this is Geeky Gentleman. I'm Esplin227, and this is Sid Part 2, and today we're going to be talking about the video game industry.
Yep. Just to say, Milan will be joining us eventually. Um, he's just being Milan and being a pain to get a hold of course.
He,
So.
he's dealing with something with the Russian mafia or something of the sort. I don't know.
More
But
ninjas.
but
Oh man. All right. So we're gonna be talking, like you said, we're gonna be talking about the video game industry, particularly like the history of consoles and the generation of gamers and that they inspire or that they brought with them and stuff like that. So, any particular place you want to start, or do we just want to go with the Odyssey and trek on?
huh. Well, I was thinking of giving a general history of the video game industry. Just a quick rundown, because a lot of people don't quite know what happened in the 80s. And it's important to know that because the video game, just because it's a new industry, doesn't mean it's invincible. It really, there was a possibility we wouldn't be having this conversation had things gone a little differently, had Nintendo not popped into existence, or rather changed their...
Had Nintendo not stopped producing playing cards.
Yes, exactly.
Isn't that the weirdest thing? Like,
It is! They've been around
get
for...
Nintendo playing cards now.
Here's what's amazing. They were doing that for like 100 years. Nintendo's existed before television. Did you know that?
Yeah.
That's insane. But yeah, I'm gonna sound woefully ignorant considering I brought the subject up, but I'm not going to be giving any years because I don't remember them. I don't remember years. But basically,
Well, then you're a great historian.
um, in the 80s, video games. What was the
Well,
first?
can we start with like the very first video game, or like what is at least considered the very first one? Space Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just I just look at that thing and it's actually a really fun game. I mean, there's a lot of I kind of want to see a 3D, HD graphics reboot of that game.
But the thing about the games back then is it's not like they had a lot of options. They had to be addictive.
No. I know that they didn't have a lot of options. I'm just saying now, like today, I would like to see one of those, like a really cool 3D reboot of that released. I think it'd be awesome. Kind of like Geometry Wars did a couple years back on the Xbox, but that's just me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, in 1977, Space Wars came out.
It's 60s.
1967? Really?
68.
1968. Wow.
Very first video game on like the giant computer at MIT.
Oh yes, that's right. I was thinking of the arcade.
No.
No, you're right.
I-
Anyway,
Studied up on this. I watched like 6 documentaries that are about half an hour long each. So.
okay.
So, the
while I'm not going to go, well, this isn't going to be just like a history of the gaming industry. Around the 80s, games like this, the gaming industry, they started to release game packages that had a bunch of crappy games, but they were really cheap. So, basically you had a choice. You can either buy the $50 game that was well made, well put together, or you could buy a pack of games. And there really was no game reviewers back then. Games were a novelty at best. Video games, that is. They were like, just as you wouldn't have someone to review different board games, there's really not enough market for there to be a reviewer.
I got a fact. I'm gonna look up YouTube right now and see if there's a board game reviewer. Just to contradict you.
I mean, you can, but I'm just gonna deny it. I'm gonna pretend it doesn't exist.
Yeah, there's board. Well, the thing is, there are board game reviewers, but they're like those really, like super shui geeky board games.
Yeah, no, I understand. It's like,
there's no one reviewing like Clue. Let me put it that way.
yeah, exactly. It's just ubiquitous at this point. Everyone knows Clue. But yeah, I mean, there's gonna be reviewers for everything, but I'm talking mainstream.
Yeah, I got you.
So
Contradicting you.
that essentially destroyed the industry. There was
Well,
no
not
reason for
destroyed.
developers to put effort into making a good game if they knew people were just gonna buy a pack of 50 really crappy games. And because the graphics were already so simple back then, most people couldn't tell the difference just by looking. To be fair, they've gone in the other direction now, but we'll get to that later. So, what was it? In the 80s, from the late 80s to early 90s, literally there were landfills of unsold games that were just tossed out, and consoles and everything. It was a very real possibility that video games, or rather console games, would not have been brought back. They still would have existed on computers, but without a market specifically for video games. That is, without them being separate from computers as their own thing. It's very unlikely that a lot of the games we have today would just not be here. There would not have been a market for them.
Yeah.
Luckily, Nintendo pops up, and while I can't say I'm much of a Nintendo guy, we owe Nintendo for saving the gaming industry. No Nintendo, no most things. So just getting that aside, so that people understand that the gaming industry is not invincible. It wasn't a natural evolution of anything. It was a fringe thing that ended up exploding into its own, field.
Yeah.
Because
Actually, something I kind of wanted to bring up. Like I said, I was watching a few documentaries just on the history of video game consoles and stuff. And there's this weird kind of coincidence I noticed. At any one time, and let's call it eras of console games, there were really, yeah, generations, I guess. And there were really only two dominant systems, and maybe like one system that was, it was definitely still around, but it's just not as popular. Like the very first wave, you got the Odyssey systems, you got the Atari. Then the second wave, you got essentially Sega and Nintendo, and then now you have Microsoft and or Xbox and Sony, which is weird because those two weren't around at all before.
Yeah, it's the 80-20 market. What ends up happening is you end up with two companies competing for the 80%, and then one company delegated to the 20%.
Okay, so Nintendo's in that 20% right now, I'm assuming, because they're in the third generation of video game consoles, but they're really...
But it depends on how you look at the generations.
Well, I'm just saying...
I go by the fifth... They're in the fifth generation as far as I'm... First generation would be Atari. Second generation would be 8-bit. Third, 16-bit, which would be like Super Nintendo. Fourth, 32, 64. At that point, that's when we start getting out of the bits, but...
I got you. Well, no, I mean, like, this third generation...
Sixth generation, I'm sorry.
Let me put it that way. Third generation of my lifetime. The current generation. Nintendo's there, but they're real... It's, like, almost surprising that they're still around.
Well, here's the ironic thing. They dominated the sixth generation for a long time. The Wii... sales obliterated the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360.
Really?
You didn't? Yeah.
That's just because it was cheaper, though.
Well, hold up. The reason the Wii... Because, again, Nintendo, saved the gaming industry. And I'm not one to say that unless I have something to back it, because I'm not a Nintendo guy, but we now have everyone playing games, old ladies playing the Wii.
Opened up the audience for it. I hadn't thought of it in that sense.
Which in turn opened up the audience for, okay, we also have to remember that the iPhone, or rather, the iPhone basically kept that going. The Wii opened up casual gaming as a more legitimate and it's interesting that they call it casual gaming. That doesn't really make sense. It's like there are people I know who do nothing but play iPhone app games. They play it more than I play hardcore games. But there's always going to be a little bit of in-group, out-group fighting in anything. And right now, it's particularly foolish. If we want gaming to expand, and I'm a gamer, I'm one of those people who always was worried about the industry. When a good game came out, you have different types of gamers. You have gamers that there are three type of gamers that look at a new game that came out, and they look at it as is this a game I want to play? If it is, that's good. If not, it's a waste of my time that it exists. I don't know why they see it that way, but you've talked with those people.
Just why would you play Angry Birds, or why would you be playing that Wii game? There's no point. I got you.
KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic. I have a friend who I talked to him about it, and he's like, I was like, have you ever played KOTOR? He's like, yeah, that game sucked. And I'm like, how could you think that game sucked? You know his reason? Because it wasn't an action game like Jedi Academy. And I'm like, that doesn't mean it sucks. It just means it's not in a genre that you're into. And he's like, yeah, it sucks. It's like,
The things that I don't like are objectively bad. What are you
Yeah,
talking about?
which is a problem in that. I don't know. It just
If I don't like a movie, it's a bad movie. That's
Yeah.
what it comes down to. Duh.
and it's not just like he didn't like it. He doesn't like the genre, so the
Yeah.
game sucked.
Yeah. I
Uh,
don't know, like, the point I was trying to make though is like I just could never imagine at this point that there's gonna be an Odyssey 17,000. I cannot imagine that. I cannot imagine Magnavox going, we should get back into video games. We
Yeah,
should
that-
It's the Odyssey again.
that would be amazing. I'd buy it. No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. No.
Dude, no, because you know they would make more vinyl overlays for your television. It would be awesome.
Oh, that would be amazing. How would that even work? It's like. No.
I was watching this guy play those old games, and it was like, oh my god, we've come so far. It's a big ass pixel on the screen that one person controls, and the other dude shoots at it with a light gun. This game sucks.
Yes,
But
yes.
kids were like begging for this for Christmas at one point. The point is like you got Microsoft and Sony who had no history in the industry at all until the early 90s for Sony and early 2000s for Microsoft. I would never have imagined that they would be the top two in the market right now and be essentially like saying, oh, look at Nintendo, aren't they cute?
Yeah. Again, it's ironic because Nintendo was saying that about them. Not even a few years ago. Oh, yeah, a few years ago in this generation. Sony. Here's the thing. Sony is definitely the one I lean to just because the types of games they make are the most consistently the types of games that I play. Rather, they license the third-party developers that make the types of games I'm more inclined to. This goes even back to the first Sony's first step into the gaming arena with PlayStation. I'm much more of a Resident Evil guy over Mario, though that's not a fair comparison because Mario is legendary. Resident Evil has become kind of crappy, but my mind went blank. But like Silent Hill, Resident Evil.
Before I forget about it, because I've been wanting to make this joke for months. I've been waiting for the right opportunity. Dude, Sega does what Nintendo don't, except maintain a consistent standard of quality for a brand name.
Oh God. Oh, dude.
Admittedly important, but still.
Travesty.
That's the thing is, I might as well just bring this up. The Dreamcast, for its time, so revolutionary, so far ahead for its time. Online play on a console. No one had done that yet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like you look at what the Wii U's big thing is. You can have your controller and take it away from your system and still play a game on it. That's what Dreamcast did back in 2000. That's amazing. But it's so far ahead for its time. But Sega shot themselves in the foot because they released the Sega CD, the Sega Saturn, and then the Sega Dreamcast within 2 years.
Yeah, Sega's.
I miss Sega. I really wish they hadn't fucked themselves, because if they had if they didn't release the Saturn and the Dreamcast had come out, and then they were able to go on to the PS2 generation of consoles. Just imagine the kind of things Sega would have been doing.
Well, I mean, see, that's hard to say because it's hard to. No one. Well, I mean, you could say that about it. It's like, imagine if Sega hadn't been bad, they'd been good. Then they would have been good. Well, yeah.
Well, they argue
nothing screwed Sega over but Sega. You know what I mean? They made the mistake. They kept making the same mistake over and over again. They released a piece of technology before they really understood how to use it. What's it called? first the Sega Saturn, or first the Sega CD, but
I had the Sega Saturn, and Sonic R, I don't care what any of you say, was a fun game.
See, I didn't have the Saturn. I didn't have the Saturn for the same reason most people didn't get it. It was the most expensive, and it had the least amount of games. Sega was in that weird... Nintendo could support itself. It had a wealth of titles it made itself. It was all in-house. Most of its catalog was Nintendo. You know what I mean? All the classic Nintendo games and a few new IPs using old... a few new games using old IPs like Donkey Kong Country and such. Whereas Sega Saturn had Gex.
Hey, Gex was good.
I enjoyed Gex, but understand that Sony went completely third party. That's why Sony was amazing. Sony ended up becoming an arena for competition of third party developers. And for the most part, Sony kept a high quality. They didn't quite have Nintendo's seal of approval, but they didn't license any third party developer. They, of course, a lot of crappy games slipped through, but proportion-wise, PlayStation was amazing. A lot of good games in proportion to the bad games. Of course, Sturgeon's Law says that 90% of all the games had to suck, but that's just the way things are.
But I completely believe it.
Sturgeon's Law, there was a argument back when they were trying to decide whether the what was it, like the Literary Society or something, was trying to decide whether science fiction should genuinely be considered its own branch that is outside of fiction and outside of, and one of the arguments in there was 90% of science fiction sucks, and it does. 90% of it is cheap, pulpy bullcrap. And I forget, his name was something Sturgeon, was like 90% of everything sucks. And that ended up becoming Sturgeon's Law because it's true. 90% of television shows suck. 90% of books suck. 90% of most things suck. That's how the good things stand out.
Yeah.
That's Sturgeon's Law, and it was a winning argument. We now have science fiction as its own, because no one could argue against that. It's like, pick up 90% of anything else, and you gotta admit it's pretty crappy. But Sony, I think, had a pretty good ratio, again, because they relied on third party, but Sega, Sega's system was just too difficult to develop on. It was the Sega Saturn, in order to make up for, they couldn't get it as good as the PlayStation, the computer. But so what they did was they linked two separate computers together, like how we would have like my computer has two video cards working simultaneously, but they didn't have enough of a first-person base, so they had to rely on third-party developers. Now, if you're a third-party developer, are you going to sell on the system that is twice as hard to make games on and twice as expensive to develop on? No, they went to the Sony. They either went to Nintendo if their game was smaller, or Sony if it needed CD length. So Sega jumped the gun with Saturn, because Saturn released before the other two. Remember?
Yeah, and the thing is, they're trying to That's the thing is, Sega's whole marketing strategy is, how can we top Nintendo? This must be done. We must figure out a way to best Nintendo.
I mean, they did the same thing with Dreamcast too. If you notice, Dreamcast came out before the PlayStation 2 and Nintendo 64, which again allowed the other two systems to use it as almost a prototype. The other two companies, it just couldn't compete. It came out too early. They once again released a piece of hardware that it was too hard to develop for and too expensive to try. Nintendo can do that all at once. It makes its own things.
There's very few titles that are like, there are very few independent titles that are on Wii, Xbox, and PS3 and that's been the way for a while now. It seems, going back to N64.
Yeah, again, because of how different, like N64 back then, Nintendo made a decision to stick with cartridge. Ironically, Nintendo created PlayStation. Nintendo
Yeah, that's
loved
so.
Nintendo, but they were a dickish company. They were a ruthless company who screwed over a lot of people. They promised a lot of people that if they would hold off making their latest game, they could put it on the Nintendo on the disc. They can go ahead and put their efforts into making longer games because Nintendo promised they'd have a CD format. Well, they lied. They didn't do that at all. So, out of spite, Sony was the one developing the CD for Nintendo. So they're like, you know what, screw you. They ended up making their own system.
Yeah.
And since Nintendo had screwed over a lot of people, everyone jumped on the fuck Nintendo bandwagon and went to Sony. Sega could have had that market, but again, they jumped the gun. Their system was just too difficult to make.
I don't know if the Dreamcast was as difficult as the Saturn. Maybe a little bit so, but it was so. The thing is, I think if the Saturn hadn't been released and the Dreamcast was instead, like if they'd gone from the Sega CD, which it still had good things about it, it was just too new for its time still. If it'd gone from Sega CD to Dreamcast, and Dreamcast had been released just before the PS2 and everything, but without the Saturn there in the middle, because the thing is, a lot of the Sega fans bought the CD and it wasn't what they wanted it to be. And then they're like, okay, but the Saturn looks really cool. I mean, 3D gaming, that's awesome. So they bought the Saturn, and that really was a disappointment to a lot of people. And then they heard Dreamcast was coming out, and just they tainted their market. They released 3 systems in 2 years, so it ruined the market for them. No one wanted to buy that anymore. So I think if the Saturn hadn't been released and the Dreamcast had been released at the same time as it was, then I think, because the thing is, people didn't buy the Dreamcast. They said, no, Sega, I'm going to wait for the PS2 because you pissed me off so much.
Yeah.
Saturn.
Yeah, people had a limited amount of money. It's not that they just didn't, we're screwing over Sega. They're just like, it's probably not going to succeed. I do not have the disposable income to keep buying these systems. Because
no, I was just making a point. But the thing is, I figured Sega could have stayed in the market and not had to go to software like it did.
It doesn't really bother me that much. Sega, for instance, back when it was Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, I was a Sega guy. But I was a Sega guy because of their games. Back then, we're talking 16 bits. They really didn't make much of a difference. I disagree with you. I don't think Sega was ever really that good at making consoles. What I think is, just like Sony, they got lucky.
Well, the thing is, their consoles weren't a whole lot to talk about, but they put a lot more effort into their gaming software.
That's what I mean. They were always
their gaming software. Their gaming software is kind of, it's starting to turn around. Sonic Generations was certainly amazing. Their gaming software has kind of been ass lately. Or not gaming software. Their games have been kind of dirt. I mean, you go look at Sonic 06 or
the Sonic industry has obliterated itself. I don't even really care.
Play Generations. Trust me. Play Generations.
I heard about Generations. From what I hear, half of it's good. It's the old Sonic, and half of it's bad.
The new Sonic's really fun in Generations because it's playing through the old levels in the new styles. It's fun. Trust me, it's good. I really do love the game. The downfall of that game is it does not have any downloadable content to speak of.
Hold up, my roommate. Can you? All right, you can keep talking. My roommate wants me to turn on Fable 3 so his character can start making money while he's at work. Yeah, you can tell we're really gamers here.
Okay. Anyway, it's just the point I'm making is Sega, I think, was really doing things because it's a great model. That's a great model for how to run your company. Is how can we be better than the other guy that's doing this?
Well, yeah, that's basically how everything works. You have to attack your biggest competition.
not necessarily biggest competition. With gaming, like it's always so limited to, there are only ever a couple systems out at a time that are.
But yeah, that's why I don't know if I agree with you about Sega though, because yeah, they were good until there was a third competitor. Look at it. I mean, they were great. Sega Master System was great. We just didn't have it over here. But that's why you had a lot of remakes of Sega Master System games with the Sega Genesis, because it really didn't hit the American market too hard. It was just too expensive. But Sega Genesis was good, but its only competitor was Nintendo. The moment you throw in a third competitor, it didn't work. They weren't. It's easy to compete when you're the only other alternative to a major competitor. You get what I'm saying?
Well, the thing is, they weren't. What I'm trying to say is, there's only ever a couple systems out at a time. Is what I'm really getting at. There's only ever a couple systems out at a time, and Sega was the first one to really go, you know what? Let's just let's do everything that Nintendo isn't doing.
That is true.
See if it works. And
yeah, I'll give you that. And after that, they ended up doing the opposite. They're like, let's. I don't know. I don't know what to think of Sega. I'm not one of those people who are like, man, if only Sega. Companies rise and fall. To me, it's not a big deal. They're still making games, so I don't really see what the problem is. They're just not charging me another $600 for a system.
Yeah,
I get to play Sega games, and I don't really care what system it's on. So, really, only like the Dreamcast holdover. Now, to be fair, Shenmue I heard was amazing, and Soul Calibur was just tastic, but we still have Soul Calibur, so I'm not really worried about Sega. I mean, I liked Sonic better than Mario back then because it was a lot faster and more visceral, but it was really just gameplay that was good. So if you change the gameplay, that's the reason Sonic is not as good when you made it 3D, because that was really the only thing that was good about it, the fast gameplay, and that shit's difficult in 3 dimensions.
That's what I'm saying is play Generations, because they really streamlined it. It's one of those things, the faster you're going, the easier it is to play, interestingly enough, and that's a really good way to model that character in a game.
Yeah, oh definitely, that is a good way. Well, that brings me to another point. Types of gamers. I'm actually not. Sonic was definitely my type back then because he was a more serious version. That is to say, Sonic, believe it or not, back then Sonic was edgy.
Yeah, right.
He was like more sarcastic.
And he looked at his watch that wasn't there. Yeah. Yeah, he was a badass.
Yeah, he was a badass, essentially. And that's what I always wanted. I didn't want to rebel. What I wanted was to actually feel like... I'm a rare gamer. In the gaming industry, they call me a spade. I'm that odd person playing for storyline. And I know, it's weird, right? No, but in all seriousness, like, I'm not that... If a game has multiplayer, I'm like, great. If a game has co-op, I'm like, freaking sweet. Because at that point, I get to take a friend into the thing I care about, the narrative. I'm really not that competitive.
Yeah.
There really is, like...
Did you ever play Time Splitters?
I did not. I have heard of it, though.
It is amazing. It is literally the most playable game I've ever had. Time Splitters Future Perfect, which was the third one they made. It's great. It's almost infinitely replayable because it had a map maker and like it had just a huge selection of characters, and it was one of the first like PS2 games to do it was on Xbox and GameCube, but it was one of the first games of those generation to do online play. So it's almost infinitely replayable. Almost. Like, I remember in 2006, 2007, I would go over to my friend's house where he had the multi-tap with all the different PS2 controllers hooked up to it, and I would spend an hour designing a map on Mapmaker and in that, and then we would play that map on every game mode for the rest of the night, and it was just you could like it was great because we just I like to trick people because they had these teleports, and then they had these death rooms where essentially if you walked into this area, your character died like that, and you could make the teleports one way. So what I do is I put a bank of teleports all right next to each other, and I put like I put like a health room, defense or armor room, a weapon room, and then a death room, and I make the death room one way. And you're just like, fuck you, Ian.
That sounds awesome.
No,
Oh man, that would be fun. Do you remember? Did you play GoldenEye back when?
Actually, it was made by the same people that did GoldenEye.
Remember the proximity mines?
Yes.
Dude, I was a proximity mine master. There are times where I could have someone looking at a proximity mine and still walk into it because I would find things that looked similar. Like, there's this one level where there are these, because of the way the graphics were, sometimes light fixtures were like circles with a light in it. So I put proximity mines all along this hallway. This, like, I forget what area it was. It was like a tubing with hallway with like little circle lights around the inside. And even though I didn't put it on every single light, I put it in a way that it looked like it was designed that way. And I was able to find things that you could look at the proximity mine and not notice it was there. Like on certain desks and certain things where it looks like clutter. Oh, dude.
That's awesome.
Like when there was an area with a lot of bullet holes in the wall, if it was the right angle, I could put one there and people would just walk past it and just blow up, not realizing. That was good fun.
Yeah. See, alright, so like Halo is actually praised as like the greatest first-person shooter game, like quote-unquote party multiplayer game, whatever you want to call it, ever. And I personally just don't see it. I don't.
Well, I don't know.
Special.
It's praised by people without taste. No, I'm just kidding. No, but the thing about Halo is much like okay. Halo was the first to cause a change in how first-person shooters were made. If you've played Half-Life, right? The first
Yeah,
one.
a little bit.
You can sort of tell the difference. Even Half-Life was one of those where it did. Half-Life brought first-person shooters out of the horrible Unreal Tournament hole they were circling, where everything was just completely. I hesitate to use the word realism because of Spunk Gargle Wee Wee. Anyone who watches Yancy will know what I'm talking about. The scourge of what they call ultra-realistic first-person shooters that basically are just jingoistic bullcrap. It's the same game over and over again. They know they don't really have to make much of a plot. They can just say, look at the brown people. They're brown. Shoot at them. You know. And eventually they're like, okay, people are seeing how racist this is, so they started with the Russians and all that crap. So
You can always kill brown people. Like, seriously, it's as an American citizen, you are allowed to kill anyone that is brown.
yeah.
As long as they're not wearing a suit.
Yes.
They're
And
wearing a
it
suit,
used to be Nazis, but now it's brown people.
No, actually, no. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure you can do just about anything to a Nazis. And
No. You can still kill Nazis. I'm just saying the
I'm saying, I think in Glorious Bastards proved you can pretty much do anything to a Nazi on screen and it is okay. Like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you could show a Nazi being raped and people will cheer it on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure you could do that in real life too. I mean, they are Nazis.
Like, you always hear people like complain about violence in video games, but no one ever brings up like Call of Duty when you're fighting the Nazis. No one ever mentions anything like, why are you killing those German soldiers? Like, good job.
It's like because they killed the Jews. They're Nazis. They're evil.
Yeah,
No,
there's
but
there's like no other group of people that it is just this okay to hate.
yeah. I mean, there is now. Yeah. The whole that's kind of what Call of Duty was doing. You know, at this point, they showed that they could prey on people's hatred of Middle Easterners and fear of terrorism. Pretty much all they have to do is make someone speak an Arabic language in the background, and you instantly know, holy shit, these are the bad guys. They were gonna blow something up.
I don't know. I'm just saying, just in culture in general, not even just in videos, just in culture in general. Like there's certainly a lot of hate for the people of the Middle East, but I'm just saying.
Oh no, nothing compares to the hate for the Nazis.
Yeah, like people will come.
I mean, they're Nazis.
Yeah, people will come to defense of people in the Middle East. I've never heard anyone come to the defense. It's like not all the Nazis were bad. I've never heard that. Like I've heard people say not all German soldiers were Nazis, and yes, that's true. But I still have not heard anyone go, not all Nazis really hated the Jews that much. I've never heard that happen. No one will ever defend the Nazis except other Nazis. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to defer to the people who won't defend Nazis on this one. I don't want to be known as the guy who defended Nazis. Fuck the Nazis. They're Nazis. If they didn't want to be hated, they shouldn't have been Nazis. But
Nazi was already a bad word.
Yeah. What was I gonna say?
I don't know. It's Tangentville right now.
Yeah,
It's okay. This is why this show has a good format.
Oh, but like types of gamers. Ironically, though Sonic was the type of character I would have flocked towards back then, now he's the type of character I kind of avoid like the plague. In fact, there's very little left for me in gaming. Okay, that's not true at all, but here's the thing. I don't know if my imagination has been dulled, but I think I was always like this. I'm just not into anthropomorphic animals. Here's the thing. Anthropomorphic animals usually come with a lighter-hearted storyline, and my mind has trouble separating those two. When I see anthropomorphic animals, my brain associates that with for children.
What's the Xbox game that took the exact thing you're talking about and did the exact opposite with it? It's like this cute little squirrel.
Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Yes.
Conker's Bad. But you see, even Conker's Bad Fur Day, it...
Hello? 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 I'm hearing beeps. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, sorry, I I pulled my speakers out by mistake. Conker's Bad Fur Day was self-aware. That is, it wasn't actually still serious. It wasn't for kids, but it was parody.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'd play a Sonic game that was rated M. I'd do that.
See, I wouldn't because I'd have trouble taking it seriously.
Last week.
But I know that that's just the limit. That's just how my mind is. For instance, if you made that anthropomorphic animal look a little bit more human-like and said it's an alien, suddenly my brain's like, okay, this is plausible. But that's, I guess that's just guilt by association. But it comes down to what happened, how Sony, what I think the biggest divide is between Sony and, or I'm sorry, not Sony. You see, what's happening now is software and hardware have become decoupled. I can't say PlayStation type games like I could with PlayStation 1 and 2 because that's no longer applicable. All types of games are made for every system.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know, so
yeah,
I'm really hesitant to use the word realistic.
The only one that kind of holds on to, we have this particular style of game is Nintendo.
Nintendo.
They were trying to
mostly retro games.
Oh,
Yeah,
Milan.
Milan's back, everybody. It only took him 40 minutes into the video.
Either Milan has come back or the Russian mafia has tapped our line.
You cannot break into a Skype call. It's really, really well encrypted. That's actually why a lot of drug dealers are using Skype. But anyway, don't ask me how I know that. Anyway,
I'm gonna ask you how I know that. My guy got robbed, so I'm gonna need to talk to you about that later.
anyway, no, just Nintendo was trying to break that mold a little bit when the Wii first came out. They were releasing what is it? No More Heroes.
Oh, No More Heroes was amazing.
Yeah, but they were trying to break from that, we're cartoony, fun, lighthearted characters thing. And
Basically, No More Heroes is Scott Pilgrim R-rated.
Yeah, kind of. The thing about the Wii that was really disappointing to me is they built themselves as, yes, motion gaming finally, and it was a step towards that like virtual reality from the 90s that we all like dreamed of but no one ever made. It was a step toward that, and then what was the best game to come out on the Nintendo? Brawl. And how was the best way to play Brawl? With the GameCube controller?
Yes, essentially. No, I don't. Again, even with Brawl, I'm weird because is anyone else pissed that Snake was in Brawl?
I thought it was weird because he didn't do anything.
He didn't do anything. He shouldn't have been in Brawl. And it's just like when they tried to put Star Wars characters in Soul Calibur. It's like, I love Soul Calibur. I love Star Wars. Please don't shit on both of them.
I don't know. I liked playing as the Apprentice. That was fun. I didn't like... The thing is, they didn't get the lightsaber. Like, if the lightsaber had actually worked like it was supposed to, then they would have been unbeatable. But
yeah, but that's dumb. Like, they should... it would have been great if maybe they said, okay, we're going to make a Soul Calibur Star Wars edition. That'd be okay.
That would be the shit.
If you're a true fan of both Soul Calibur and Star Wars, they actually... Here's what would have been acceptable if they were going to have those Star Wars characters in Soul Calibur. No story cutscenes at all. Acknowledge that it's just a skin and a fighting style. Don't try to tell me that the Star Wars characters landed on Earth. And don't fucking patronize me. That's bullshit. You're shitting on Star Wars and you're shitting on Soul Calibur. That's not canon. It's not anything. It's stupid.
And that's what I like.
And they weren't even that good of characters.
That's what I like about what they did with Kratos in Mortal Kombat.
But Kratos matches Mortal Kombat.
Well,
like, Kratos in Mortal Kombat makes sense.
He wasn't involved in the story at all, but his play, like, the thing that pissed me off about Kratos in Mortal Kombat is he didn't play like Kratos. He played like a Mortal Kombat character, and that bugged me. Because the thing is, when you're playing a God of War game,
I can't. What is that sound? Is someone blowing into their mic?
Yeah, Milan. You throw swords in a God of War game. You throw it across the room, basically. And the thing is, in the Mortal Kombat game, he was just swiping with it like he's actually holding on to the swords, and it didn't work. You couldn't play as Kratos. You could only play as a Mortal Kombat character disguised as Kratos.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's more control.
Turn off your cell phone, whoever has it on.
That's more control-based. I was thinking more style-based. It would be like, again, it was like having, it was like having Snake in Brawl for me. Not Kratos in Mortal Kombat makes sense. Kratos is a fictional mystical character that rips people to pieces. Like that's an excellent idea. In fact, Kratos in Soul Calibur in the PSP version made. In fact, it kind of pissed me off. I'm like, you people are fucking retards. Like, they should have had Kratos in Soul Calibur 4 and the Star Wars characters in the PSP one. People would have bought the PSP one. The people with no taste would have bought it because there's Star Wars characters in it. And we wouldn't have had Star Wars characters ruining our Soul Calibur 4. You know what I mean? It was just a dumb move. It would have made both games would have sold better, and I wouldn't be such a bitter fanboy. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, but again, they weren't good characters. That would be forgivable on not the Wii, PSP. That would have been forgivable on the PSP. Controls are going to be limited anyway, though I heard they actually turned out pretty good. To have like Yoda and Darth Vader, but I don't know. But that goes back to my point. It just didn't feel right when they had Snake in Brawl. There's so many better characters they could have had in Brawl that would have fit the style. You know what I mean? That people wanted in Brawl. Why would they go? Remember when Soul Calibur 2 came out? They had the Nintendo version had Link, which was a perfect fit. Link has a sword. He, Soul Calibur already kind of has magic, and the story dabbles a little in alternate dimensions, like different realms. But in the PlayStation version, they had Heihachi Mitsu. The fuck?
Who is
Why? From Tekken. The old guy from Tekken.
Oh, wow. Okay, weird.
That's weird. And it's like, well, maybe it's about money. They're stupid. If you spent a little bit more money, imagine if you had a Final Fantasy character.
Oh, that would work.
Yeah, or Dante.
Dante would have been cool.
Exactly. And people are like, well,
I wonder
the companies, they own them. It's like, well, they don't own Kratos. They had Kratos. They don't own Link. They had Link. So why would you? It was stupid. Spawn was in the Xbox version, which.
Let's go real quick onto just a mini tangent. Who wins in a fight, Dante or Cloud?
It's a draw, and then they make out.
Yeah, I was gonna say something similar. Both spiky-haired. Well, do you mean the new Dante, the angsty?
I didn't even know there was a new Dante.
Well, they did a reboot, and because the old Dante is kind of like the '90s type cool, where a catchphrase, and he's like, I mean, I like that type of
characters with catchphrases, guys. We need more catchphrase characters. I'm telling you. That's what's
check, please.
That's what's wrong with the world.
I'll have what he
enough
has.
characters with
okay, that doesn't work.
No, just the thing about I don't know. Okay, mini tangent over. I get what you're saying. There are different types of gamers. There's your retro gamer. There's your hardcore, first-person shooters only. There's the adventure gamer, which I definitely fall into. I play almost.
Me too. I love adventure games.
Well, that's more genre. I was actually thinking of what I'm thinking of is industry type. Okay, genre and types of gamers are a little different. When you're looking at types of gamers, what you're looking at is what they do when they pick up a game. For instance, you have your Grand Theft Auto. You have your gamers that are playing it. Gamers like me who will get in Grand Theft Auto and for a little while actually follow the rules. Like, just to get around the city, use a taxi or drive the speed limit just in the beginning so I can feel a contrast. I want to feel immersed. It's not a sandbox game. I want to be immersed in a world. I want to forget that I'm playing a game. That's the type of gamer I am. I want to forget. I want the when you're watching a good movie and you
suddenly realize you're in a movie theater and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, you everything else just kind of drops away,
It
like
drips out of
watching
focus.
Yeah, and you feel what the characters feel. They connect to you on a deep level. Well, interestingly enough, games do that with their environment. You're walking at some point and you stop because you just saw a waterfall, and you're struck by it, and then you're struck again by the fact that it's not real. For a split second, it just, you're doing a mission, and you take a different route just so you could see that one thing you love driving past, like a what's it
statue
called?
or
The
a
statue
tree or
or-
something.
It's fucking in, I want to say Town Square. They
It doesn't
call
matter. Doesn't matter.
Star Junction in Grand Theft Auto, where it's supposed to be like Times Square, and it's just, the lights are just amazing. And I don't know. That's the type of gamer I am. Like BioShock. I'll take a BioShock over 1,000 Call of Duties any day. Not because Call of Duty's not good, but because it, narrative-wise, immersion-wise, it can't even hold a candle to BioShock. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, because basically what I'm sorry for all the Call of Duty fans, but Call of Duty and all those, mostly Call of Duty and all its
Battlefield,
clone
Medal of Honor.
Battlefield, all its clones is basically a giant post 9/11 jerk off revenge fantasy game.
Kind of.
That's how
Yeah,
that's how I see
essentially.
it.
No, essentially, and here's the thing. I'm not going to argue that the controls aren't great. They definitely took... They refined the combat mechanism. Like Halo refined... Basically, it's an update to what a first-person shooter is. That's what Halo was.
Yeah, but the thing about that, the Call of Duty games and all these first-person shooters, they're all kind of look the same. I mean, all you got is like a gun and like a bunch of terrorists slash, you know, unspecified Middle Eastern guys to Germans. It's just basically the same game but with different skins in many sense.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. That's true. But what ends up happening is, as graphics are getting better and you can make things look more realistic, you tend to see less difference in... Maybe I'm the bad guy in this. I'm not... I don't know. I don't mind that so much if the reason they all look the same is because they all look very realistic. That part doesn't...
There's an image out there where someone took the Apprentice from the Force Unleashed games, Robin from Arkham City, the main character from Gears of War, and put them all next to each other. Took away their main armor, and it's the exact same character, just at different levels of fat, or bulk.
Oh, well, that's a little different. That's a that you're talking about the character, and when you're talking about first-person shooters, the character is literally the gun. That's really the only... because the mind still has something to focus on. So ironically, the character you're shifting through the level ends up being the gun itself. Not literally, but in terms of how the brain sees it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The object you're pushing through doors and around corners is the gun in front of you. That's the focal point for your eyes to focus past. So, it just... But in terms of... Though I agree with you, I'm just saying we're talking about something a little different when it comes... That has more to do with... I don't want to call it racism, but for some reason, white guy with shaved head in a hoodie seems to be the default human being right now. I don't know what the fuck that's about.
That's interesting. A guy called Movie Bob, he's another video game commentator, talks about a lot because it's strangely, if you see the Halo ads, like the live action Halo ads, where they kind of do semi, cutscenes from the games, but in live action, it's basically how they make the Master Chiefs. Basically, is they take white boys, young, teenage white boys with shaved heads, it looks like it's a very painful, but how they change is that their muscles get bigger and their eyes turn blue. And so you get this giant, bulky white guy with a shaved head and blue eyes. And is it like dark self-parody or and that's another thing about the Call of Duty games. They got Oliver North to sell a couple of a Call of Duty games, the recent one. Oliver North is a fucking war criminal.
Are you serious? They got Oliver... Oh yeah, I remember Movie Bob did talk about that, didn't he?
Yeah. And Oliver North sold weapons, after the U.S. government forbid him to sell it to a certain group of terrorists.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s. And that's another thing. Call of Duty. The thing about Call of Duty, it's kind of to the everyday public. Call of Duty is kind of like those first-person shooter games. They're kind of they're kind of the face of video games now, and
And
most
that can be the problem.
yeah, and for all those who don't know, there's this weird thing about the left that they say like, oh, Hollywood is liberal Jewish propaganda. They don't make war films like they used to,
right.
you know.
That's the right. You mean the right wing
Yeah,
says that
the
about
right.
the left.
Yeah.
If the
yeah.
left said that, that would be hilarious, though.
That would be
Yeah.
hilarious. It's like
Yeah,
we
yeah.
are Jewish,
Yeah.
elitist, Illuminati. They're just like
Yeah.
going in on
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah. And the
It's
point
not
is,
this thing we're doing.
yeah, and the point is, they say that the left says that video games, like the first-person shooter genre, is the place where all the quote-unquote patriotic moviegoers that are lacking quote-unquote patriotic movies in Hollywood are going to video games, because in video games, and first-person shooters, all you do is shoot. Well, I guess they eased up on the racist Islamic terrorist meme to shoot at, and just kind of switched back to Russians. But it's
Russia is our biggest enemy.
yeah.
That's what Romney said. I mean, of course.
If we believe our real president, Mitt Romney.
The one who was legitimately voted into office.
Mhm.
Because
The
he's an
white
American citizen. He was actually born here.
Yeah, and
He
he's a
can
white
show his
man.
birth certificate. And he did
Yeah.
build that.
Yeah.
Oh, liberals.
Yeah, and
It's okay. I watched an episode of Family Guy where they made Barack Obama sing like Elvis. It was hilarious.
Yeah. I hate Obama. Just to throw that out there. But Mitt Romney was a steaming pile of feces. So. Nah, but seriously.
No, you know what we need? We need like a great, super ultra realistic, like Fight Night. You ever play a Fight Night game? We need a Fight Night level game where it's just political, like it's just take the entire House of Representatives, the entire Senate, and the President of the United States, and Joe Biden as well. And we got to throw Hillary in there too. And I want that as the roster of a Fight Night. And it's going to take place on the White House lawn, and it's going to be a just awesome game where
That's actually a really good fucking idea.
you just pick whatever your representative is, or whatever representative you don't like right now. You're just gonna punch them in the face.
You know what? that has to exist already. Like political brawl, at least on the internet. It's got to be all over the
but it's
place.
probably
There's no way it isn't.
Probably crummy flash animation. I want legit 3D. You can see the beads of sweat mixing with the
Well, here,
blood.
you just said something very interesting, and that's something I wanted to talk about. Why is that a legitimate game and a 2D game isn't?
It's not that one's more legitimate than the other. It's that one is much more. One I like to play much more than the other because it looks better. I mean, you.
I'm actually on the same page as you right there. That pretty
Like
much.
I have no problem with Flash games, but I'm not going to replay I'll play a Flash game for about 10 minutes if I can beat it in that time. If I can't and it's like challenging, I might play it a little more. But I'm never going to come back to a Flash game.
And it's funny because Flash games are essentially what the old like Pongs and things were in terms of simplicity.
Yeah,
They don't really have an end. They're just a psychological trick over and over again.
Yeah, but the thing is, the old games were much more difficult in a different way. There's that phrase.
Well, a lot of that was control.
No, there's that old phrase, Nintendo hard. Like, Freddie Wong, who does a lot of, like, film interpretations, let's call it, of video games. And he does it just straight off of the... What do we call it? Straight off the console? Straight off the cartridge? I don't know. Because you can't say
So
straight off...
basically, like Scott Pilgrim mix
Like, yeah,
like games
yeah.
mixed with real world. Yeah.
Yeah, but he does a lot of those. Like, he did a video called Old versus New or something like that, where it was like these brand new characters. It was like Nathan Drake, Lara Croft, Assassin's Creed guy, and they were fighting the classic video games, and they had like Space Invaders and Vector and Moon Landing, and they had what was the other one? Centipede was there, and Tetris was there, and they're quote unquote fighting, and you know who won? The old games, because they're so much harder to play. Like you look at the old game, or you think back about the old games, you're like, man, I was really never any good at those, but I bet if I played them now with all my current video game experience, I'd be pretty good. No, you will not.
No, you will
You
not. They are very good. I mean, I'm a little better now, just because when I played them, I was like 8 and I didn't have great eye-hand coordination. But
No, you will fail terribly.
yeah, no, I failed. I cheated like a motherfucker. I played them on an emulator. Because I'll be damned if I'm going to go back and buy them all again, knowing the money's not going to go to the original developer anyway.
No, just it cracked me up. The guy that helped shoot it, he goes, I figured I'd probably be better at it now that I've had all this experience with modern games. Nope, not at all. It's
No.
so
He's just crying in the corner like he did when he was a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
Throws his controller across the room.
Yeah, the point I'm making there is just the old games, the old console games, or whatever you want to call it, the old arcade-style games, were made to be difficult because if they were as easy to play through as modern games are, like you can beat a modern game in about 5 hours. You can beat an old style game in about 20 minutes. But you don't unless you're an expert at it.
Yeah, but again, that was just to pilk you for more quarters.
Exactly.
Oh, well, let's look
That
at
wasn't. They
it's
didn't
not-
actually. I mean, if you look at Nintendo, they were still using the arcade model because there was no one had thought of an alternative.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
In fact, if you look at later levels in a lot of these games, they aren't as good as a lot of the earlier levels if you pick up a random Nintendo game, because they didn't think most people aren't going to make it that far.
Yeah, and that's very much true. But the point I'm making is, the Flash games aren't as valid, I guess I'll call it, as good, 3D. Like, all right, a random Flash game from the internet is not going to be as good as Uncharted, because Uncharted is made to be an immersive video game experience. A Flash game right now is made to be something that you play for a couple minutes and then quit, or beat in a couple minutes. All right. An old style game, however, it's the comparison holds in the visual look and the way in which they play, but not the fundamentals of the game itself, because those old games were meant to take hours.
Yeah. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, to me, like, have you played Limbo?
No.
Oh, man. You need to play Limbo now. The thing I like about the 2D games that are coming, and I'm not talking about Flash games, I'm talking about indie games, the 2D games that are coming out
Like the
now
retro
is-
movement.
The retro movement is, there are actual artistic expressions. Like Limbo, I can't even explain it. In fact, if you can, look a YouTube video up of it right quick while we're talking, and look at Limbo.
A sec.
Post a link to it also.
Oh, actually, I could do that.
I got it.
I bought it on Steam. It's just an excellent game.
Isn't the one where you just float naked in space and suck up little multicolored balls of energy?
No,
That
it's
sounds like
not.
Super Stardust HD or Geometry Wars. Both really fun games that are callbacks to the old style of computer game. Or not the old style of, arcade game kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
you play Geometry Wars and Super Stardust, and it's very much... It's Asteroid on steroids.
Okay, here it is. Watch this. And it's just, in my opinion, it's just artistically amazing. It was beautiful as I was playing it, and it was eerie. But it's so simple at the same time. That's what I do like about 2D games nowadays. But, like what you're seeing, and it's so gruesome, even though it has, like, no color. It's black and white.
Hold on. Let's describe. Oh wow, that looks very creepy.
Yeah, it's creepy. It's basically a little boy, obscured in darkness, traveling through a fog, and it's pretty much monochrome. It's hard to describe. I'll put a link in the low bar.
It's like it's not even white. Like the only thing that looks white is a little bit of the sky and his eyes. Everything else just looks gray and black.
Yeah, and it's bleak, and he's getting mutilated horribly, but you can't really see the details.
Yeah, like just getting eaten by a giant spider right now. That's
and
nightmare.
And is it mostly to do with the sound effects of the the bones chomping and everything.
Yeah, and it's gruesome. It's stuff you could never do in a regular game. You can't really show. I mean, that's not why you should be playing it. If you're playing it to see a little boy get horribly mutilated, then you need to go to the hospital. But but the game itself, it's just something about it. It's just like, ugh. But it's addictive. Like, it's a valid. I would not want this game in 3D. It's a perfect artistic expression.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, Flash games traditionally aren't artistic in that sense.
Well, you brought up Flash games. To me, Flash game, that's really just a way of making a game. Like, that's one of the easiest tools to make it. You know what I mean?
And that's the thing is, it's made for practice for the most part from a lot of the people, or for a quick buck. There's very few people in the Flash game industry, I guess you'd call it, and it's more of a Flash game hobby because very few people are getting paid for them. There are people that are doing it for the arts of Flash, I guess I'd call it. You know, Homestar Runner was that way for a while, and then they started just, let's just make awesome things and videos and really not focus on the game aspect of stuff anymore, except for a couple interactive things. This could be a Flash game, and I'd be very surprised if it's not, at least soon. Like, what is it, downloadable or something?
You can get this on Steam. You can get it, Xbox Live was the first place you can
Okay, so it's like a downloadable game. Alright. See, that's the thing is, I would be very surprised if this doesn't, a version of this or a demo of this doesn't become a Flash game, because, yeah, you can do a lot of this with the arrows.
Oh, by the way, you can download a free demo, too, so play it. If you're like me, you'll probably end up buying it. And it should get bought. They put effort into this.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, a lot of Flash games are done just, for fun, for something on the side, and it's not really a lot of effort put into it. Like, I remember I spent basically my entire middle school life on albinoblacksheep.com playing all the Flash games. Big ups to all my homies over there.
Albino Black Sheep, I just got that. That's awesome.
Yeah. There's just a website full of a bunch of Flash things, and that's actually where I learned what bukkake meant.
Wait, what?
Don't ask. Anyway, it was just Albino Black Sheep. I spent my entire time in middle school playing games on there, and it was fun, but they weren't, I don't go back there anymore. That's over for me. That time of my life.
You got regular porn. You got regular porn.
No, it wasn't for porn. There was a video. They posted like little Flash animated shorts and stuff like that. And there was a video where this guy was just screaming, "Bukkake, bukkake, bukkake." I was like, "What's that?" And then I looked it up, and then my life was never the same.
Oh, okay.
Milan, you should look up bukkake. Do you know what that is?
I already know what it. Yes, I do.
Damn
you should look up two girls in a cup.
I'm gonna film my reaction to that.
Have you seen it before?
No,
Never.
I haven't.
Never.
I refuse to see it. That's horrible. Why would I ever want to see that?
I don't even know what it is. It's like two girls, one cup. What is that?
Watch it, dude. It's amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, it actually is pretty interesting.
Okay. Okay,
It's
guys.
like great social commentary.
You know what? I'm gonna film my reaction just for YouTube fame. But guys, it's really strange when some really game franchises kill others for being better versions of the first one. Like Prince of Persia was basically the whole running around, quote unquote, what's that? It's the quote unquote free running game of the PlayStation era. It's like you could run around, jump on buildings, run across walls, There's the parkour game for the parkour guys and guys who wanted to do parkour but were too fat, and basically,
We're lazy.
well,
Just didn't.
yeah, and Assassin's Creed kind of basically killed Prince of Persia.
No, it was made by the same people.
Yeah, it's a spiritual successor.
I
Didn't
know,
really
but
kill it. They made it.
but there will never be another Prince of Persia game that will reach the same level of fame as, well, Assassin's Creed.
Well,
Because
yeah, because the series was done. They tried to do that like rebooty thing that was kind of lame. With the like, I like the look of it with all the watercolors, but
You talk about yeah. I like the look of it too. I didn't like
no,
how they
here's
went-
what was really odd. Like, here's something we should just get into. Like, all right, so we had Prince of Persia, a game series that came out on what, Super Nintendo, way back when,
Mhm.
and that got a reboot in the PS2 era of gaming. With Prince of Persia, Sands of Time, Prince of Persia, something.
Edge of Darkness, I think.
Whatever, something stupid ass soundtrack. Prince of Persia, The Two Towers, or whatever it was, Twin Princes, something like that. God, I love those games. I can't remember their subtitles.
Yeah, the 3 games. Those were excellent.
Yeah, those happened, and then something weird happened. We got a Prince of Persia movie with Jake Gyllenhaal, which wasn't terrible, but it definitely wasn't an adaptation of the games in any real sense. And then
Nobody got their head cut off with blood everywhere.
no, not that. And then after the movie came out, we got a game based on the movie, so it's become this really weird.
Yeah, it was like a paradox. It's a game based on the movie set in the original Prince of Persia canon. Because it's supposed to take place between 1 and 2.
What?
You didn't know that?
No, because I didn't play it.
Yeah, no, I didn't play it either. It didn't. It turned out to be mediocre all around, like on every level. But evidently, yeah, it's supposed to take place. It's supposed to show how he got all dark and angsty.
Well, it made sense how he got all dark and angsty because he had someone chasing him to kill him every day.
Yeah, no,
That's fine.
it shows the time in between.
No, I'm just saying you didn't need that story because we
No,
already got that
It was
story.
completely necessary. It was a complete. It was a completely. The fuck's it called? A completely. God damn it! Opportunistic money grab.
No, it was so weird and like it was almost existential in a way. It was kind of like that weird thing where you're questioning the original and you're wondering about your place in the universe at a certain point. Like you should stay up at night thinking.
Oh, that reminds me of a comic I want to make. Actually, you know what? I'm not gonna say it because I want Milan to make it. Actually, you know, it's okay because it would still be funny if he makes it. I want you to draw a cartoon of, I'm sitting in my room, Milan, and then someone comes in and he has an arrow in his knee, and he's like, I got shot, or I took an arrow to the knee, and my character's like, I took an arrow to the knee once, but then and then the world blows up. Like it's like, and then I look at the screen for a second, like, oh god, and then because, yeah, everything just implodes.
Okay.
Okay,
Anyway,
it's not that funny, but
Actually, Ian, I mean Alec. Sorry, you guys have similar names, but me, we're doing yeah. I'm sorry, I'm just joking around, but Ian and I are basically producing a Geeky Gentleman comic, and you can be a backup or even a starring character.
no wait, no.
later-
Alec, can you do a German accent?
I can't do any accents.
No. Can you do like the cheesy? It doesn't have to be good. Can you do a cheesy, terrible German accent? Like imagine that you are an actor in a B movie from the 1940s playing a German villain. Can you do that guy's voice?
The worst thing you can possibly do. It doesn't matter
Like
how bad
just
it
get as
is.
stereotypical as possible.
As cliche as it were.
Let
Yeah.
me try. Bratwurst. No, I'm just kidding. No.
Just say your base belong to us, something like that.
That's gonna come out Russian. All your base are belong to us. See, I can't even. God,
Okay.
I'm awful.
Okay. How about this? Something the very most German thing you could say. Please step into the showers.
Oh god. This just got offensive.
Please step into the showers.
Nah, it's okay.
I can't. I really can't do any. In fact, my whole life growing up, I actually, and this is embarrassing, even though I'm I'm half Puerto Rican and half black, I could not understand any accents. Like when people were talking to me, probably because my parents spoke perfect English, and even though my dad's side of the family spoke Spanish, they all spoke perfect English. And my mom's side, none of them, even though they're black, none of them spoke any slang at all.
Really?
So I guess in my formative years, I grew up in a house of perfect English speakers. So like I cannot understand even the slightest accent. I literally have trouble, and it's kind of embarrassing because I'm trying not to be offensive. I'm not like speak English, you know. I'm not some douche. But I genuinely, I can't do an accent. I can't understand an accent. I love accents. They sound awesome.
Is this kind of throwing you off then, Dan? Just a little bit then.
You got really low right there. I
Yeah,
barely.
am I throwing you off just a wee bit here when I'm talking like this? Like, I actually go out to parties like this and I just talk because I don't drink at all, and so I need something fun to do. And I just talk like this, and if anyone asks me, I say, yeah, I'm Irish. My mom, she brought me across the pond when I was just a wee lad, and then she left me here and went back home, and I was raised by my father. And, you know, it's interesting. You get a lot of attention, actually. And one time when I was at the party, they asked me if I could do an American accent since I was Irish, and I said, oh, let me try. And I said, hi, my name's Ian. And they're like, oh my god, that's amazing. I can't believe you can do that.
I'm so
I
bad
used
at
to-
accents that I
I
couldn't
used-
place your accent until you said Irish, and then it immediately became incredibly Irish.
The thing about the
I'm
Russian accent.
missing that part of my brain or something. It's weird.
The thing about the Russian accent is that, unlike
I love
actually,
when Milan does the Russian accent because it sounds so, it's like such a drastic change. It's like Milan gave the microphone to someone else.
Yeah, the Russian accent and the Japanese accent are like my favorite two accents.
well, the
for
thing
some
about the
reason.
Russian accent is
Ah, it's
that
so much better though. Oh,
basically
Russian accent.
it has two great things. One, I can be the thing about when Russian guys get threatening, they don't scream, they don't holler, they don't act black. They start speaking slowly, and their weird pauses in between strange words. And then then they take out a cigarette from behind their ear and light it. Take out a match and they light it upon the
their
cheek
ears.
of their on the American's cheek. And then they suck in the cigarettes and they blow the smoke into
Oh God!
the
Okay, I'll
face.
tell you anything you want to know. Just say
And
something.
the other half of the Russian accent, which is awesome, you tell very tragic stories in this accent to bartenders, and they give you free drinks. That's true. It's
What do you
like
mean tragic stories? You just tell them
Well, basic-
stories, and they're all
yeah, let me-
tragic because they're
they
Russian.
have to be horrible family
No,
sagas.
no.
Like
You just tell them stories, and they're all tragic because they're Russian.
not. Let me explain. Let me say like this.
There
is one
are
of the-
no happy Russian stories.
That
Like,
is
have you
true.
heard
That
the
is
Russian
true.
version-
But let me just tell you one.
No. Have
basically-
you heard the Russian version of Snow White? Oh, cut off this part of your toe, and then you can be a princess. That's horrible.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Actually, no, that's the German. But
No, it's Russian too. There's a
Oh.
simple version in Russian.
Okay, well, basically, that's. But in the Russian version, they cut out all the toes.
Yeah, all right.
Okay,
Oh,
but basically, the
it's still
best thing
awesome.
about. Let me finish, damn it, about the bar story. If you tell them a dark a family tragedy to a bartender in Russian, they give you free drinks for the rest of the night. Like I once said to this big Samoan guy, my cousin. The day before we come to visit him for 2 months, basically what happened was these little kinder. He was going at night to get a cake for the
Hold
day
on,
before we arrived. And basically, these guys, these little kids that were like little early, like teenage gangsters were sitting. He passed a park basically, And these little guys came up to him and they said, "You got a cigarette?" And he said, "I do not have cigarette." And then they stabbed him in the gut 3 times and cut open his belly. And he spent the 2 months we were in Russia in the hospital recuperating. But he's okay, you know. He's getting married. He shaved his head and he carries a gun. Well, he doesn't carry a gun because there's no guns in Russia. Because if you get caught with a gun, you get stabbed. So he carries a knife and he's trying to act all scary Russian guy now, he's gonna get married. He's okay now, but it's okay. And like for the rest of the night, like strip club drinks. Like guy brings me Jack Daniels and vodka. Here you go, my friend. Here you go, my friend. And like, oh, very good, thank you, my friend. Come sit with me. Sit on my lap.
Anyway, back to
Sit
video.
on your lap. I hope you didn't say that part.
I did.
Back to video games. Back to video games now.
That's awesome.
All right. So we've talked about consoles a lot. So I stand as a PS3 kind of guy. Alec, where are you at?
Oh, that's hard to say because, like I said, they've pretty much decoupled software from hardware at this point. Like I said before, it's really hard to differentiate because all 3 systems are making all 3 types of games. But generally, I lean towards Sony. I lean towards the PlayStation 3.
All right. And Ron, where are you at on this? Ron?
Poverty.
Shut up. I'm a PS. I've been playing the fuck out of the Arkham games, and basically, the Arkham games are what if Assassin's Creed was Batman?
Hold on. Answer the question. Are you PS3, Xbox 360, or Wii right now? Where are you?
I've never played an Xbox game in my life because I can't get a fucking handle of those weird ass controllers, and I never had one, and I never bought one. I have a PS3, and I will die with my PS3.
Okay, fine. I was just curious about that because I remember when the PS3 and the Xbox came out, and the Wii came out at the same time, right? I can't remember if it was a bit earlier.
It came out a little earlier.
Yeah, okay, I thought so. I remember when those were all coming out, there's like the system wars where I was in high school at the time and just shit was real. Like, I didn't talk to some groups of friends for months over this shit because we just argued constantly about what the better system was.
Which I never understood because how do you argue over something that is based in math? The PS3 physically has the stronger processor. That's not a matter of negotiation. It's a matter of technology. It's like if you buy a Pentium 3 and I buy a Pentium 4, you can't argue that the Pentium 3 is strong. Like that's physically impossible. Mathematically, there's
system overall because there are like not necessarily just processing power or graphic capability, but there's a lot of argument about what exactly had the better software behind it.
Guys.
The thing that I really hate is the thing that I wish PS3 would just steal from Xbox and not care about at all is the ability to play your own music during games.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I hate that PS3 didn't do that because you can play music on PS3.
You know what's the sad thing about this? Back in the golden age with Sony, like Sega versus Nintendo, it was not like this, like all processing power and all that shit. It was like Sonic versus like Mario. It's fun. It's kind of cute kids, having fun. But now it's like teenagers, complain, like talking about processing power. It's so sad.
How's that sad?
It kind of is. Think about it.
Well, to me, it's not sad because processing power simply represents the level of power your game can handle or your system can handle. So it's granted it's less whimsical, I suppose.
Indeed.
But I'm not the older generation. I'm not really into the again, both generations don't like me. I'm Generation Y, which puts me in that weird in between. I'm not totally with the whole Call of Duty where everything has to be ultra realistic and
Call of Duty surrealistic?
Ultra realistic.
Ultra realistic.
There aren't enough surreal games. That would be.
Yeah, we're talking about the gaming industry. Why? What's up?
I don't know. What'd be a good game? Like, how would you play a surreal game?
Have the main character be a monkey that shoots lasers from its
That's not
ass.
surreal. That's how old Nintendo games were back then.
No, just what would be a good way to do a surreal game? That's an interesting
What do you
idea.
mean a surreal? There's plenty. Have you ever heard of the genre of games as
Oh,
art?
sorry, I gotta go get my little brother some pills.
The Path.
Well, like, I know, like, what was
Have
it?
you ever played The
American
Path?
McGee's Alice.
Oh, that's not even in the. Well, I heard that that's a good game, but have you ever played The Path?
No.
Okay, you didn't understand that there's an entire genre of games that are called games as art. Limbo's a little surreal, but play The Path. It's almost like you're playing. It's almost not even a game. It's an artistic expression as a game. That is to say, for instance, the same people who made The Path made this game. I shit you not. It's a very high level graphics of an old lady walking through a cemetery. And if you buy the game, there's like a 1 in 18 chance that you'll have a heart attack and die. like that's surreal, but that's not the one I care about. That seems a little bit too pretentious. There's a game called The Path, and it's alright, there's different versions of the Little Red Riding Hood fairy tale, but the game's more about losing innocence. Each character, your goal is to meet. Alright, the game starts and it says stay on the path. There's a road. Don't stray into the woods. And if you take the road and run straight to Grandma's house, it switches to first person inside the house, and it's really surreal, abstract art. You have to try to figure out, or you don't. You don't have to try to figure out anything if you don't want to, but the game ends right there. That is, and it says you failed, you survived. But if you go into the woods, there's a lot of weird interactions with objects. And if you meet the wolf, every girl has her own wolf, her own enemy. Then your girl dies, I think, and you sort of like limp back to the house, and then it's impossible to explain. Look at a preview and play the game. It's free.
Well, anyway, no, I'm talking about, like, can you do a full game? Like, because Arkham City kind of did that weird, or not Arkham City, Arkham Asylum had those moments that were very, very, non-linear. They were very psychological, and it lacked, the traditional sense of, okay, you got to get from point A to point B. It didn't. No one told you your objective at certain levels, and it started to.
That's not surreal. That's just sandbox.
Well, no. It's the way it did it. Like
The scarecrow scenes, basically.
Yeah. I'm talking about those.
Oh, what's it called? What is that? It's terrible that I can't remember the game. But
Well, no, just the while you think of it, the way that Arkham City did that, it was really interesting. It was really it had that.
Psychonauts. Sorry, I had to say it.
Psychonauts.
Psychonauts is a game where you're in like a camp for psychics, and you jump into different people's minds, and it's incredibly surreal. But it's one of those games that were amazing, but either because it wasn't marketed well or people were too fixated on ultra realistic things, it fell by the wayside. Which is a shame, because it's literally said to be one of the best PlayStation 2 games ever made. Like, a lot of game reviewers put it straight up in their top 10 games ever made, which is insane. I've actually, and shame on me for knowing this but not playing it. I haven't played it yet, but I understand what you're saying. Max Payne did a little bit of that.
Yeah.
In the very beginning. That is what The Path is. The whole game is like that. It's inexplicable, as in I have nothing to compare it to.
Yeah.
You'd have to play the game to understand what I'm saying.
I got you.
The thing about the new Max Payne, one little thing about the new Max
that would actually sell. I'm wondering if it would be possible to do a whole game that would actually sell, like a full-length adventure game or what have you, that would actually sell where it's in that kind of style. Because the way you were describing things is it's very short or it's very limited, I guess I'd say.
Well, it's more that it's only it's an interactive work of art, but
right.
it's not just like a flash. It is sort of like a game. It's not what you think it is. If you play it, it's nothing like you've played. It's not like a flash
There's
thing.
no point of reference.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like a flash game where it's art and they let you click a few things here and there. You are playing it. You can make decisions. In fact, if you stray off the path, the girl in white, there's this little black girl in a white dress that comes up to your character, hugs you, and then leads you back to the path. If you just stand there and your character ends up getting scared, and there's no explanation, there's no narrative that is spoken. You have to figure everything out for yourself.
Okay. And I just interesting tangent. I was just wondering if it's possible to do a whole full-length game like that.
You know what? I think it is at this point. I think there's a divide, not a divide in the gamer community. Because again, for me, I'm not into one type of game.
Mm-hmm.
If a game is good, that is to say, if someone says this is an amazing game, I don't care what genre it is, unless it's a genre I'm really, really not into, I'll play it. I'll probably, or at least I appreciate its existence. You know what I mean? I'm glad. The more good games that come out, the more varied these games are, the happier I am.
Okay.
One
Alright,
thing about the one more little thing about the Max Payne 3 game. There is nothing more terrifying to a black man than seeing a big burly white guy with a bald head and a beard and a gun rushing towards you.
He does kind of look a little skinheady.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, alright, so we talked a lot about consoles and different things. Is there any ground that we just really, really need to cover?
There's
Mascots.
so much, but
Mascots.
mascots?
Well, yeah, I mean, you got Nintendo, which is always going to be Mario. Sega's was Sonic. You got Xbox. I guess you can put it down to Halo. Or I don't know, is Master Chief the mascot of Xbox? And then you got Sony, which had Crash Bandicoot, and then that, Crash Bandicoot, the very first 3D platforming game.
Yeah, it was okay.
I love Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, you had
Again, that was not something I. See, this is where I was never. So I thought Sony's mascots were like Lara Croft's, and that's what I liked about Sony. Their mascots were not fluffy animals. They were.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is they had Crash, and then that kind of teetered out, and then Lara Croft they let teeter out too, and she got distributed to other companies, and now I guess it's Kratos, but that's not really a great flag.
Sony really doesn't have a mascot. Neither does Xbox. Pretty much the only company that's desperately clung to mascots, because that literally is their business model, is Nintendo.
Yeah.
Nintendo is mascots. That's what Nintendo is. People keep talking about how great the gameplay is, and it is great. But it's great because they keep remaking the same game. Like, I love Zelda, but let's not front. That is the same game over and over again. It's the same excellent game that's a little better each time, but
yeah, it's the same game, different environment.
Yeah, Twilight environment. Twilight Princess is Ocarina of Time, in my opinion. Yeah. It's the same game with a different set of.
See, the thing is, I was thinking about this the other night. I was thinking about this a while back, though. All right, so you had Twilight Princess come out for Link, right, or Legend of Zelda, whatever you want to say. And in that game, Link turns into a werewolf. Kinda. And I'm really thinking that Sega saw this and was like, well, it worked for Link, so let's take Sonic and make him into a werehog.
Which is funny, because werehog, were means man. So basically he's a man-hog, is what they're calling him.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
You know, oh my god. I was
found that I was like, Sega, what were you doing? No, it's not gonna work for Sonic just because it worked for Link. No one played Twilight Princess because Link was a werewolf.
I know, exactly.
No one bought the game for that reason.
Everyone bought the game from Midna.
Midna, that creatures thing. I haven't played them.
Okay.
When I realized that I'm sure they're great. I really do need to play at least Twilight Princess, and but I'm not really into. Again, sorry, it's just the way I am. I'm not into Skyward Sword or what's the other cartoony looking Link?
Toon Link. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really like that because again, that's part of what I liked about Zelda. He wasn't, a kitty type mascot.
Actually, Link is Link.
I'm sorry,
Zelda's the chick.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, there's a Toon Zelda too. Like, same with her. They made a sort of kitty version of her in that same game, but still, I get what you're saying. Yeah, that's what I liked about Zelda. It felt more epic. The world. There was a chance that people could die in that world. Mm-hmm. There was something at stake, whereas Mario. But then again, Mario was
Zelda. The thing that cracked me up about Zelda was you found out that the world's gonna end in like the 5th game or whatever, and so Link goes in the shop and he needs this one thing from the shop owner to save the world, and the shop owner knows Link. He knows that he's a hero, and so he's like, yeah, that'll be this millions of dollars equivalent amount of money, but I need it to save the world. Hey, business is business, kid.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, he's not gonna sell. You're gonna charge me for the thing I'm going to use. I don't know which Zelda you're talking about. We'll just say Majora's Mask because they're the same game. It's like, you don't see the moon getting closer to Earth? Like, what do you think you're gonna do? Set up shop on the moon? Because I'm pretty sure we're both just gonna be flaming balls of fire. There's not... you're gonna have no business. You have a terrible business model, sir. Yeah, exactly.
That's one of the problems. Like, for you that plays video games for stories, that's one of the major contrivances in the video game world is people charging for things they really shouldn't be charging for.
Yeah,
I think could be said with first-person shooters, because you're carrying basically an arsenal, like a 16-man arsenal of weapons, and you're not bogged down by the weight. And you get to the door.
That's the other comic that cracked me the hell up. This is the other comic that cracked me the hell up. They took the character model from Call of Duty. It's like Black Ops, finally trained Marine, hardened over years and years of training, can run for 16 seconds.
Yeah, and then Mario. He can't. But no, they actually fixed that though, Milan. They in games now you can pretty much only hold 2 guns.
Yeah, no, but hold on. And then they had the Marine next to Mario, and it goes, Mario, fat plumber, can run for days.
Yeah, that's true.
I love video games for that. It's so inconsistent. It really the thing you should watch is if you're a big video game guy, the thing you should watch is Video Game High School by Freddie Wong, and that is actually on Netflix. I found out, which is kind of cool. It's a little cliche, kind of like classic high school bully kind of.
Saved by the Bell.
No, like that new kid that's getting bullied and blah blah blah. It's got that cliche story, but it's very self-aware. But it's really fun to watch because it's all super realistic. It's one of those things where the video games, your avatar is you, kind of thing. It's hard to explain. They don't bother explaining anything. Is the problem? It's just there, and it's got the guy from Epic Mealtime as the principal. It's a fun game. It was a fun movie, series, whatever you want to call it. It's on Netflix.
Is it on YouTube?
Yeah, it was on YouTube first, which is why I was surprised it was on Netflix. I was looking through for.
Well, the same thing happened with The Guild, which is amazing, by the way.
Is that the one about fantasy football?
No, The Guild is with Felicia Day, the MMO.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh, it's the chick from Doctor Horrible music blog. She's the cute little redhead that
Yeah,
gets killed
from
at the
Geek and
end.
Sundry. Her
Yeah,
YouTube channel is called Geek and Sundry.
I'm gonna
I
subscribe
haven't
to
heard.
that. Geek and Sundry.
Yeah, I have a major hard on for her. I don't know why I said that, but yeah, I wanna have sex with her. Just thought I'd get that out there. She's yeah, but yeah, Felicia Day, the Guild. It's great. The episodes are like 5 minutes long, but you can pretty much watch the entire series, and because the episodes are like 5 minutes long, each season is like an hour. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I think I heard about that actually.
yeah, no, it is excellent. It's really good.
There's
Yeah.
actually a comic of that out now, which is cool.
A comic of the Guild.
Yeah, it's a Dark Horse is putting it out.
Oh, that's awesome.
Dark
I
Horse
love,
puts everything out.
I love Dark
That's-
Horse.
Dark Horse is
Dark
the
Horse
slut
is
of
my
comics.
huh?
What?
Dark Horse is the slut of comics. It always puts out.
Well, it puts out good stuff. I mean, like it's not
I
like
was kidding, Juan. I don't care.
That's
Yeah,
that's right,
he's just
bitch.
joking.
Don't you
Um,
talk smack about my Dark Horse, bitch.
Well, here's the thing about Dark Horse. Again, it illustrates the type of person I am because I take Dark Horse over Marvel and DC simply because of it tends to be more serious. Though to be fair, DC and Marvel, you know, like the later Iron Man comics are much more serious. And
Have you
stuff.
fucking read the shit that I gave you?
Not at all.
You son of a bitch!
I can't. You don't understand. The Old Republic. I can't do anything but this game. I
You don't
swear.
understand. I am playing a video game. This
It's
is
so
life.
important. Oh my god, you have no.
Alex,
I have
you're
not
gonna
been
be
so
like-
addicted.
Like,
Look,
Alex
I'm not
gonna
an
call
MMO
into-
guy.
Alex is gonna be like the guy that calls into work. I can't come in today. Why? I'm playing a video game. Oh, it's cool. It's cool, man. I understand.
Yeah. It's like,
I will cover for you.
yeah. No, exactly. That's pretty much what it is. Like this game. Okay, if you're someone who doesn't like MMOs but you liked KOTOR, play the Old Republic. It's free and it's pretty much, if you choose Jedi Knight, it's pretty much KOTOR 3. Each class has its own story. So like if you pick Jedi Knight as opposed to Jedi Guardian, you have a completely different story for Jedi Guardian. It's all voice acted. Everything is voice acted. There's not one thing that's not voice acted. It's basically imagine the game KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic, except you can play multiplayer. That's just basically what it is. It's each character, like Trooper, his own story, you know, Smuggler, his own story completely, Sith, their own story. They sometimes intertwine, but basically it's a full-length. You can play this game and never interact with another person if you don't want to. But if you are someone who does that, they have an infinite amount of stuff for that too. They have flashpoints, they have heroics, they have ops. It's just so good. I have never played an MMO this good.
Basically, if you're a Star Wars fan, it's like yes, I'm gonna go here. It's like the most awesome hug from the girl that you like, and then she has sex with you.
Yeah, no, this isn't a hug. This is full on fellatio. I mean,
Aha! I made you say it, Ian. He said it first. Ha 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 ha.
Okay,
So-
okay. There was a game I wanted to talk about.
well, hold up. I do want to say one more thing. If
Okay.
you played Star Wars Galaxies, understand that Star Wars Galaxies was a shitty game, and if you liked it, you only liked it either because you're an obsessive MMO player and I hate you, or no, I'm just kidding, or you are the type of Star Wars fan that says anything that's Star Wars is good, in which case it's your fault most Star Wars stuff sucks. This is not that. Even if you hate Star Wars, if you like the KOTOR games, you will like this. It's an amazing, amazing game. And
Okay.
it's free to play. I can't stress that enough. You can play it for free. The whole story and everything. Okay, that's enough gushing up.
There's this one game that's been in development forever, and I just want it to come out. It's called Sniper, and all you do, it's a two-player game. Okay, you can either be the sniper, or you can be the agent. All right, and there's it's mainly for online play and not for split screen. Though I suppose you could do that. You got a guy outside of a party with a sniper rifle looking in the party and scanning around, big windows kind of thing, right? And then you have a guy inside the house at the party that's got to do X number of tasks or missions or whatever. But the thing is, the sniper is looking for you. So you have to play as if you're one of the bots.
Oh, that reminds me of the Assassin's Creed. The Assassin's Creed. The fuck's it called? Multiplayer thing, where everyone has someone they're supposed to assassinate, and everyone has someone who's trying to assassinate them, and your characters look indistinguishable from the NPCs. So you have to blend in as if you're not.
Yeah, that's cool. No, I found that to be the most interesting concept. Is the sniper only gets one bullet, and that's just the coolest idea to me. So it's like the ultimate. It's a game of cat and mouse, but it's actually going to be interesting. And it's one of those games where there would be absolutely no need for you to be quiet while playing it at home. But you're going to get so immersed into it that you're just going to be sitting there in the room, and someone's going to ask you a question, and you're just be like, shh, shh.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, you're right. That's amazing. What is it called? Do you know?
Sniper, I think. I'll look it up real quick. It's such a cool idea for a game.
But that's another thing. The games that are coming out, the ideas they have now, really are unique. A lot of people, you have the older generation, like Movie Bob, annoy me sometimes because
You get overly sentimental about the past.
yeah, they're forgetting that nostalgia. It's like the terrible state of video games today. It's like there is a surge of crappy. There is the whole Call of Duty thing that's screwing with the video. And of course there's GameStop, which is a serious problem. People think people are ripping on GameStop just because they're corporate. No. The problem with GameStop is they're a monopoly, and that essentially means that they decide what games succeed and what games don't. When they resell a game,
okay,
the
my
original...
bad. It's called a Spy Party, not Sniper. Sorry.
Spy
Party. Just it's in development hell. It's been I've been following it off and on for the last 2 years, and I want it out so I can play online. I would just come home from work and I'd play online all day.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Doesn't it? Oh. Anyway, continue.
I forgot what I was talking about.
You're talking about how Movie Bob and the older generation say.
This is important about GameStop. If you want to save the gaming industry, if you want to keep the game developers from doing things that are gonna hurt you more in the pocketbook, you need to do this. Go to GameStop last. First, go to your local developers if you're looking for a game. Then the mall if they don't have the game you want. Then even Walmart, in this particular instance, is actually better than GameStop. Because right now, GameStop resells games, ripping you off terribly, but more important, the original gaming industry, the people who made the game don't get the money. What that means is, if your game isn't the type of game to sell millions of copies off the shelf, it's not worth making the game, because people are just going to wait till it's resold and buy it cheaper. So you're not going to get any money for the game. You're going to get very little money. So that creates a situation where no one's going to take any chances on anything unique, because they're not going to make any money. That's why GameStop is bad. Not because it's a big company and I'm anti-company hippie or anything. I don't give a shit, really. But GameStop and game companies cannot negotiate with GameStop. Anyone who badmouths GameStop, who says maybe game companies should get some money when games are resold, is immediately blackballed by GameStop, which essentially means your game will not succeed. GameStop decides which games succeed and which games don't. Because of that, it creates a vicious cycle. That vicious cycle is a monopoly. GameStop says, okay, game companies, if you work with us, we'll do special pre-order things, which pretty much ensures people buy at GameStop. The problem is that just gives GameStop more power. Companies are not going to go against GameStop. GameStop says the word, your game makes no money. They have almost complete power at this point. So if you care about the gaming industry, online or local game stores, like I'm not an old type gamer. I don't particularly care about bringing Blockbuster back to rent games anymore. Like if I wanted to start renting games, I'd subscribe to GameFly. But the fact is that has become our new rental system. We buy games used. The difference is when you rent something, the original developer gets that money. When you don't, they don't. Or when you buy it used, they don't.
And see, that's the problem. I don't think that it would be such a big deal if games didn't cost as much.
Exactly. And games cannot... The price of games cannot be altered at all because GameStop will not allow it. They're not going to put something that they can't make as much money. They're not going to advertise it as much, or they.
Yeah, and I get that, and I know it's a problem. I know it's a monopoly, but at the same time, I don't think not going there is the solution. I think GameStop really needs big time competition, and they have kicked the asses of a lot of their competition.
Well, hold up, not going there is exactly the solution.
No, I don't think it's the solution because then you're asking people to do something. You're asking everybody to do something, and that never works. If everybody just turns off their lights when they leave the room, if everybody just makes sure...
Wait. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to disagree with you because I think you're taking what I'm saying and you're making it something. I'm not saying spend more money on other things. I'm saying... No one's saying don't go to GameStop. We're just saying make that your second choice, and that does have a... Like, you can ask people to do stuff. That actually helps sometimes.
No, I don't believe in the movements where if your movement or your goal requires everyone to consider a second option from what they normally would, I don't think it's going to work. I think you're dead on arrival. I think the only way to make things happen is to make it more convenient or competitive in a different way. I think GameStop needs a new healthy competitor. Like, they blew away Game Crazy as far as I know because there's no Game Crazy.
I think maybe you're misunderstanding what the word competitor means. In a monopoly, a monopoly means you have enough control to make sure other competitors cannot exist. That is what a monopoly is.
That's what I was just saying.
The only way to break a monopoly...
Al, I understand that, and I know that they've destroyed their competitors. I think there needs to be someone else to come out there to do something in such a fundamentally different way. This thing, GameStop just is the one that survived because it was the most aggressive and expanding. Game Crazy could have done that if it hadn't partnered with Hollywood Video for some.
Wait, if Game Crazy did that, we'd be talking about them.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
That's not the problem. The problem...
No one's doing anything differently than what GameStop did. GameStop just happens to be the most successful. We need someone, a competitor to come in, a new person to come in, and do something fundamentally different from GameStop to make money. And I don't know what that fundamentally different thing is, but I think that's the only way that GameStop's power hold is going to end.
I kind of get what you're saying. On the same token, I'm actually kind of suggesting that. Are you saying that...
I don't think it's Walmart. I think a new business needs to emerge that is doing something. Because like I said, Game Crazy did the exact same thing GameStop.
No, I don't know what Game Crazy is. I heard of EB and I heard of...
Game Crazy was smaller, but it was doing the same thing. It was another company that was doing, trade games, yada yada, and they actually had better deals than GameStop most of the time. They just were smaller. EB Games was doing the exact same thing, and GameStop absorbed them. McVans, which was a local business here in town, was trying to do the same thing, but they didn't know how to expand correctly.
Can I also say something about the movement thing? Because I think you completely misunderstood. There's a difference between, like, trying to convince people not to eat meat and simply telling people that this particular type of meat has, like, poison in it.
for instance, when people found out about the red stuff in McDonald's food, it did dip their sales a little, and they immediately stopped using the red stuff. So I think you're like 100,000% wrong on that. Simply telling people,
like you hear like the global warming people talk about this.
That's not the same thing at all.
No.
That's not the same.
It's not the same thing, but I'm creating something similar within it. You hear people talk about global warming like we could stop this problem if everybody just does this one little thing. And it is a little thing not to go to GameStop.
Well, that's not what I'm saying. I understand what you're saying, but that's again, you could say that it's the same thing, but that's not. I'm not asking someone to make any type of sacrifice. There's actually.
You're saying that that people just need to not make GameStop their first choice, but what I'm saying is anything that requires people to break their habits is probably not going to work unless they find out something absolutely disgusting. You know.
I get what you're saying, but I think you're falling into the trap, and a lot of people fall into it. It's the instant gratification trap, where when things don't happen immediately, they consider it a failure. That is to say, if you're going for a long-term change and it doesn't happen within a year or so, then it's not doing anything. It doesn't quite work that way. Even if you had a massive competitor, it would still take a lot. There's no way. For instance, the telling people to turn their lights off. There is no way to know if that works. There's no way to know if more people. Are you saying that if no one had mentioned that at all, that people should turn their lights off when they leave the room, that it would have been exactly the same? How would you know whether that worked or not?
Well, what I'm saying is just I know people, and people resist change.
Yeah, they resist it, but
people are lazy. People are lazy. They will not do something if it takes an inconvenience on their regular. So, if I can go to GameStop and get a game cheap and yada yada, I can get these awesome pre-order bonuses and yada yada, then I'm going to go there. It's
no, exactly. No, that's right. And that's why I wasn't saying don't go to GameStop. In fact, there are better deals. Then GameStop is actually not good with their deals. They're pretty shitty now. They give you like $9 per game. Most other places have better deals than GameStop. People just don't know that. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that when you have a monopoly, what you do is you silence your competitors. Not only just destroy them. That is, you create a situation where even if there are better deals, people are so used to going to that place that they don't know there are better deals. Like with Walmart. Walmart, I wouldn't tell people not to go to Walmart because there really is no competitor that can have their prices as cheap as Walmart. You can't make Walmart your last choice because everything is more expensive. Not so with GameStop. Walmart is not just a monopoly. Walmart actually isn't a monopoly. It does have competitors. It's just got terrible business practices. It's actually not a monopoly. It's more of a conglomerate because there are other stores that are actually still owned by the same company. So it's not in comparison to Walmart. I'm not comparing it to that. What I'm saying is GameStop may have been the best deal in the past. It's no longer the best deal. And they are duping their customers. They're screwing over the industry.
Yeah, but the way you were talking about it, let me put it this way. The way you phrased it is the way you phrased it was as if you wanted people to do something they are not used to doing. And I find that people resist change when it inconveniences them.
I agree with that. I'm just giving people a little bit more credit when it comes. People will resist change that inconveniences them unless they feel that the alternative is going to hurt them more than the inconvenience.
Yeah,
at this point, when a company actually crosses the line, when a company was becoming a monopoly, then there were people saying don't go to GameStop. But once a company crosses the line of a monopoly, then they usually end up shooting themselves in the foot because they're actually not the cheapest. Or rather, most other companies are either equal or better than GameStop. For instance, I had there was a play and trade that it actually closed down, and it's a GameStop now. But it perplexes me because if you go into play and trade, the deals blew GameStop away. They were just better deals. They had more variety, but they weren't as widespread as GameStop because mainly it's marketing. You get what I'm saying? And the only way to fight that is just to tell people that there are alternatives.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't. That's why I made sure not to say don't go to GameStop.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Then it was really the way you worded it that threw me, because I'm like, at any point, this may surprise you, but I have very little faith in human beings.
Because Ian's dead inside.
Yeah, I don't have faith in anything. I just go by the data. There are ways in which things like the global warming thing, you're completely right. That's not going to work. There is no... It's like, hey, everyone, give up the core conveniences, the very basis of your way of life that you've had for the last 50 years. That's not the same as, hey, maybe hit up a different store and see if it has better deals. If not, don't worry about it.
Yeah, the way I was explaining it is, it's that same kind of thing where you have to make a change to your routine. Yeah. And people resist that wholeheartedly. Even if the other places have better, they will make up reasons in their head not to go to those other places.
Yeah, I mean, they will. There's no doubt about that. That's the thing. There was this experiment where the they put monkeys on. I know
the fire hose and the bananas and everything.
What?
No,
not that.
I'll explain this one because I love this story. So they put a bunch of monkeys in a room and they put a thing of bananas at the top of the ladder. And anytime any of the monkeys went to go up the ladder to eat the bananas, they sprayed them with the damn fire hose. And
what?
Yeah, it's awesome. And I don't even care if it's true. That's how awesome this story is.
I have a true one when you're done with that.
So they spray the monkeys with the fire hose. And so eventually the monkeys just stop trying to go up to the top of the ladder to get the bananas. So then they started taking one monkey out that had been in the original group and putting other monkeys in, and the new monkey, of course, went to go to the top of the ladder, but the other monkeys that got sprayed with the fire hose pulled his ass down. And they did this one by one until there was none of the original monkeys that got sprayed with the fire hose were in the room, but all the other monkeys pulled each other down from going up the ladder.
See, that's interesting. That is similar but different from the story. This story is actually a true story.
Well, this is said to be true. I've never actually read it in a reputable magazine. I don't care if it's true because it's awesome.
Yeah, well, it's awesome, and that would not surprise me. That is actually how cultural evolution works.
Yeah.
For instance, you don't still have to tell people how to make fire. No one from the original people who learn how to make fire has to. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah.
That's how cultural. Well, here's another thing that's consistent with how primates think, and this is a true story. They were doing an experiment, and they had monkeys on this island, right? It was a small island, and the monkeys. I forget what they were trying to do, but the monkeys were one of the things these monkeys ate were coconuts, and the coconuts, they started to get sick, and people weren't sure how they were getting sick. And it turns out that some sort of pollution or something was on the outside of the coconuts. The hair of the coconut was absorbing this stuff. But if you wash the coconuts off, it actually, that's how the monkeys got on the island. It was an exotic pet guy. It was illegal, and his monkeys ended up populating the island. And when he got arrested, they're like, well, let's study this phenomenon, let's see how they adapt. But anyway, so what the scientists did was they showed a few monkeys how to wash the coconuts off, and they kept doing it over and over again, and it didn't pick up with the rest of the society. That is, it went slow, or rather it took a very long time to spread until it hit about 100 monkeys. Once about 100 monkeys did it, it spread like it spread exponentially within months. Tens of thousands of monkeys were washing. That is to say, and they consistently did this for some reason with with monkey populations. Once there was a certain amount, like 100, it tipped off some sort of subconscious cue in the monkeys' brains, and all the monkeys started washing the coconuts. And it actually took a very long time. Like it wasn't a gradual shift. It was like almost, it didn't seem like it was gonna spread at all. Like when 10 monkeys were doing it, it took forever to get 11. You know, and then when 20, it took like forever to get to 30 monkeys. But once it hit 100, it was almost overnight. Within a few weeks, you have thousands of monkeys all washing coconuts. What that shows is that with our species, people are resistant to change, but we are a social species. There is a tipping point in which if you can get a certain amount of people to do, for instance, like the water thing, a lot of companies started serving bottled water instead of water from a tap. Bottled water was originally designed to be an alternative to bottled soda. It wasn't originally bad for the environment. It was actually a good thing. It was for vending machines, so you had a healthy option. It wasn't destroying the environment. It actually was spring water. It was a good idea. The problem is now restaurants started to give you water bottles instead of giving you a glass of water. The amount of pollution it causes to create one water bottle costs 3 glasses of water. So little by little, there was a movement to tell people to or to get people to not order water or something like that, to get people to...
Alec, can I ask a question about the monkey? I don't know if you're going to know this off the top of your head, but I'm just going to see. With the population of monkeys, what percentage, or how many monkeys were there? But what I'm wondering is what percentage, to get to 100 monkeys, what percentage?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm trying to remember. I think it was like, was it like 10%?
Because that would make sense. 10% of the population is huge, because at that point, you're affecting almost every... it'd be like affecting... Let's look at the United...
Well, we're talking about 10%. In this case, it would be 10% of the people who shop, 10% of gamers. Also understand that we're not monkeys. We're a little bit more advanced, so it actually takes less... It takes less time for cultural change, so it would be more like 5%. Now, that doesn't mean it would... Remember, we're also not... We also have more dissent. It's harder to get a higher percentage of our population to... Like, you wouldn't have everyone washing coconuts if it was humans. There would still be holdouts, whereas monkeys are less unique. You know, that's the difference between a sentient being and a non-sentient being. Monkeys are closer to sentient beings. Huh?
Just wait till the Planet of the Apes happens. You'll be the first to be strung up in the nets.
I'd like to see those damn dirty apes try. No.
Oh, you dare strike against our ape masters!
No, but
I find that interesting, and it's actually kind of a good place to bring it back to consoles, because you have that interesting shift where, you know, you have that brand loyalty, and that's fallen off a little bit, but not much. Like you said it has. I don't buy it personally.
No. The brand loyalty hasn't, because people are kind of stupid. But the actual practical application of it is non-existent.
Oh yeah,
It doesn't matter which console you like. I'm telling you, the games are the same on all of them.
Yeah.
It's just a different ratio of game. For instance, Sony has those whimsical games. Like, it has their Little Big Planet and Mod Nation Racers, but just at a lower percentage than Nintendo does. It's just a percentage thing. Whereas before, that was really your only choice. If you liked mascot games, you'd be foolish not to go with Nintendo. But now, you can go with Xbox too, you know? They have more than Sony, and then you can go with... You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I have Princess.
What?
They have Sony's got Fat Princess.
Yes, Fat Princess. Sony is a little more sarcastic with their mascots. You know,
And
they're a little less ironic.
Fox has Chainsaw Massacre or Cheerleader Chain. What is that? Princess Chainsaw?
Lollipop Chainsaw. Lollipop
Yes,
Chainsaw.
Lollipop
I wouldn't call that a mascot game.
I don't.
I wish it was.
That actually, I don't even know why you mentioned that. That in no way even comes close to what we're talking about. But okay.
I see it as a mascot because, like, when I think Xbox now, seriously, I'm thinking Lollipop Chainsaw.
Me
Personally.
too.
It just seems like they're trying too hard. Lollipop Chainsaw. It's like, all right, you're the sexy killing. Yeah, we get it.
I just- the point I'm
I
making.
heard it's a really good
seems
game
like,
though.
It seems like
I heard it was.
loyalty has really become part of that thing where there's that shift. And like, if we look at gamer culture as a whole, there's that shift towards like, if this percentage starts like getting really interested in what Microsoft's doing, it's a really interesting population kind of thing. And I don't know, there's a sociological level to it. I think we can relate it back all the way to, you know, ancient times and like the preference for different classes. And I guess you can maybe even argue it could go back to evolution and this seems like a stretch, but it seems intrinsically tied into the way in which species pick food and things like that.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. It has
I
to do.
find
Remember,
that
cultural
people-
evolution is simply the extended phenotype of
Yeah, yeah.
Darwinian evolution.
Yeah,
it just happens to
find
be
it-
the extended phenotype.
Yeah,
of-
I find it interesting though, because like we see ourselves as so different, like we've come so far, but really we quite haven't. We've just done it in different ways, but that's remix a haptology, a word I made up. It's the same things, just slightly different, new generations, and you're noticing it because generations seem to be blending together quickly. We have this weird thing to relate it to history. We have this weird like ideal that, you know, Washington and Lincoln were in completely different eras of American history, but when you think about it, Lincoln was born only 10 years after Washington died. There's those weird little things. It's hard to break things down into eras. It seems the longer you go, the more generations and cultures tend to bleed together. We seem to be moving so fast now. We can still see ourselves in the mirror behind us to mix.
Yeah, that's what's happening. I call that a social singularity, and a lot of people. I agree with singularity theory, except take away the wishful thinking part, because like a lot of people with the singularity, they believe it because they want to live forever. I'm gonna die, you're gonna die, we're all gonna die, so let's eat some pie.
What?
That's just the way it is.
That's not true. That's not true. I'm gonna live forever.
Yeah, no, I think the singularity is gonna happen, and it's most likely gonna happen right after I die because fuck life. No, but you know what I mean, like.
No, like they're waiting for, like there's just a group of scientists like just hanging out in your hospital room, and you're on your deathbed, and you're like, what are you doing here? We're waiting for that thing to stop so that we can release all this amazing technology to save the world. Assholes!
Yeah. Beep. Okay, curious.
Okay, everyone gets a jetpack.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone gets it. No, exact. What I'm thinking is Ray Kurzweil's thinking like 50 years tops. I'm thinking 100 years tops, but it doesn't matter. My point is, what's happening now is cultural evolution is so damn fast that we're hitting singularities. You know how things go in cycles, fashions. It used to take 10 years for fashions to come and go, but they've I don't want to talk about fashion because I know almost nothing about it, but what I've noticed is
that fad kind of thing. Fads are a good way to do it. It's social fads have just they parody it a lot in like cartoons and stuff. I remember growing up, they parodied it a lot where, you know, like everybody would have this kind of jacket or whatever.
exactly.
And then the next day, the kid would wear that jacket to school, and everyone would be like, "You're still wearing that thing?"
But now, but you understand what, and this is amazing. There needed to be a way to counteract that, and I think a subconscious way to do that was irony. People can still, that kid can now still come to school wearing that old jacket and be like, I'm wearing it ironically.
Hipsters.
No, but I
Are you
think the
saying
hipster
hipsters
culture.
are the evolutionary superiors?
Yes,
No, but here's
hipsters
what I
are
think-
our evolutionary superiors.
Well, I don't. That phrase doesn't make any sense in evolution. But
We're kidding. We're kidding.
Yeah. No, I know.
Yeah, we're joking.
I know. What was I gonna say? Fuck.
I don't know. You're gonna talk about how awesome I am.
No,
yeah.
Singularity. Singularity.
Yeah, what seems to have happened with fashion is that things change so fast that at this point we're in this weird, almost meta universe where there's separate. There really is nothing that is in fashion. It's either your style or it's not your style. You get what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, that's to be fair. I'm about the only person I know that owns a zoot suit. So
see, that's badass. That makes you hipster, and if you wear that.
No, I'm not hipster. Fuck you. I'm not hipster.
No. I'm not saying you are hipster.
I'm not wearing it ironically. I'm wearing it because it looks awesome.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Even the whole ironic thing is old now. People are like, no, I'm just wearing it because I want to wear it. That's okay now.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to get that much. People will be amused, but they're not going to look at you like you're too weird. If you're wearing it, they're like, yeah, all right, yeah, he's wearing a zoot suit. Like, whereas 10 years ago, you would get more looks because that's out of style. Even the idea of things going out of style is going out of style. Because, like you said, the generations are happening so fast now that they're kind of blending together. There really is none anymore. That's what I'm talking about with the brand loyalty. You know, people, you're right about habits. People are going to hold on to that for probably 2 more generations. The last generation is going to seem antiquated. It's like, what do you mean you like one better than the other? They're pretty much just software companies now. There's really no difference. They're just computers. The PlayStation 3 is just a big, expensive, complicated computer.
That's focused solely on gaming.
Yeah, the Xbox 360 is...
Like,
I have half the Xbox 360 components in my computer now. It's just... The Xbox 360 is like...
I could honestly not imagine someone writing code on a gaming console at any point. Let me put it that way. I could never imagine someone doing, computer-only like, I still feel... I cannot imagine someone writing a book on a gaming console. I can't picture that.
I thought you meant in terms of games.
No, I just can't imagine someone using a
word programs and stuff. Well, again, PlayStation 3 realized what they did and they panicked. PlayStation 3 allowed custom firmware on their computers, on their PlayStation at first. They don't do that anymore. You can't change the OS anymore. Which, by the way, screwed a lot of researchers over because they were using... Because of the cell chip in the PS3, if you hooked a bunch of PS3s together, you could actually make a supercomputer.
Oh yeah, I was doing that. I was helping out with some research. I remember that. It was really cool.
You were doing
that? What?
You were doing that?
Yeah, actually, it was just a thing that you could download from the PlayStation Store that
I know what you're talking
allowed them to use your PlayStation.
Yeah, you're talking about folding at home?
Yeah, I think
that is an example of that. I'm saying that actual laboratories would literally have like a giant cube of 50 PlayStations hooked together with their own custom OS, and they used it as a supercomputer to run simulations really fast because the PlayStation has the cell chip, which is primed for that. It's a new... People don't know the cell chip. You know about the whole cell chip and everything.
No, please elaborate.
Explain it for people that don't.
Okay, the PS3 does not use a regular chip like the other systems. The PS3 uses a cell chip, which is a way of getting around the whole atomic problem where you make microchips so small, you have trouble, you're starting to get to the point where you're talking about individual molecules and you're hitting a wall. Well, the cell chip, the chip functions almost like a cell, like one PlayStation processor chip was the equivalent, when it first came out, they advertised it that way, of like 500 other Pentium processors, because the way it works together much like a cell. That is, I'm not a computer scientist, so I'm hitting my limit of understanding, but basically it's not a normal microchip. It's a complete... It's not like the i7 where it's just a really powerful. It works like the microprocessors are like the atoms and the chip is the molecule.
Okay. And
so that's what the cell chip is, and it allows an insanely fast, the only thing holding the PlayStation back on any level is everything else. The video, all the other things, the video card, this and that. The processor at this point is pretty much unlimited. That's what the cell chip is. It basically brought the processor to a point where, I'm not saying you can't advance it anymore, but if they made a new system,
there's no point in advancing it anymore because
they don't have to update the processor chip anymore for the PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
If they wanted to, they could make a PlayStation 4 and just upgrade everything else.
Yeah.
That's what the cell chip is. But
it's we're getting kind of the point. We're getting kind of off track. I was trying to wrap up a little bit when I was talking about remix a haptology of that feeling that it's that feeling where it seems like the same ideas are repeating themselves, and I really feel like that's what's happening.
It's like similar ideas are repeating themselves, but they're getting a little bit more defined each time they get repeated.
No, I don't think it's getting more defined. I just think people are doing it in different enough ways that it's harder to notice. And I feel like it's just video games are kind of, it's the nature of video games. It's to get to the end. To get to the end result. I feel like we're reaching closer and closer to get to the point where it's just you've completely defined. You've gotten to the point in remix aptology with video games where there's nothing left to deny it anymore. There's no point at which you can't say it's not the same thing.
There's nothing. It's a singularity.
Yeah. And that's
what ends up happening. It sounds like what you're describing, the word you came up with, is the process at which things achieve a singularity.
A little bit. I use it more because I don't necessarily believe in it as complete and utter fact. Because I mean, the way I formulated it was, it seems as if our ideas have never been new. Because you ever have that feeling where, I got this really interesting, intricate idea or theory or whatever, and then you start doing research on it, and you find someone else that's not only said it, but they've said it better than you.
Yeah,
and you find
that's just statistics. Mathematically, you're probably never going to have an original thought.
Yeah.
There's just too many. There's been 100 billion people in existence.
Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about. It seems like it feels that way, and if you look back, you can actually find traces of this idea itself in documents from the past, going all the way back to Aristotle. Quote, "It is not once, not twice, but times without number that the same ideas make their way into the world." So you get to the point where it feels as if nothing can ever be new or original, but it has to be. It's impossible for it not to be.
It can't, that can't be the case. There has to be.
So it's an interesting feeling, and it's an experiment in phenomenology to think this way. And that's really where I want to end with this, because I feel video games, because of their nature, are fast-tracking that feeling to see if it's true or not. Maybe video games are a scientific experiment to see if remix a haptology is real. And until next time, we're Geeky Gentlemen. We'll be discussing